Hello everyone, thank you for checking out today's video. In this video, we're going to be covering change management on ServiceNow. Now, ServiceNow describes change management as enabling change management, which is a structured approach to managing changes in IT systems and processes. Change management ensures that changes are implemented smoothly and efficiently while minimizing disruption to services. Now, to get to changes on ServiceNow, all you got to do is type in change in the All Applications menu, and you'll see under change, you have the option to create new, open existing changes, close changes, all changes. So let's go ahead and open up an existing change and we'll kind of run through the form. Okay, so now that we have our change open, starting in the top left, we have our back button. In our case, it'll take us right back to the list view that we were looking at before. Next to that, we have our additional actions. So we have our save, we have our copy change, which will create a duplicate of this change. We can cancel the change if needed. Not going to go through all these, but you guys can kind of see some of the options available. If you're an admin, configure will be very important because that'll give you a shortcut if you want to, for example, change up the form. So you want to add in additional fields, remove fields, change the order of fields, you can do that. Related list is down towards the bottom here. So in case you want to change the related list, you can. After that, we have our business rules, or actually security rules, which allow you to add in ACLs, so access control lists. So in case you want to restrict certain fields to certain users, certain groups, certain roles, you can do that with security rules. Business rules run as the user is saving the record. So as a record is trying to be pushed to the server, that's when a business rule would fire off. Whereas a client script is going to be something that as the user is interacting with the form. So maybe as they make a change to category. So maybe they change it from hardware to software. With a client script, you could always add in some filler text in the description. So set up some more automation for that user. Or maybe you want to toss an alert. But then that brings us to the next one. So in ServiceNow, there's always more than one way to do something, or almost always more than one way to do something. So there's a lot of overlap between UI policies and client scripts. So you could pretty much do the same thing with a UI policy. So if they were to maybe change the category to software, you could set up that condition with a UI policy where it would populate an alert underneath the category and just telling them that they need to do something on the form that's relevant for the software category. And I think we have a few more in here. Data policies, UI actions. UI actions are these buttons up here that you see. You could add new buttons, remove those buttons, modify those buttons. Notifications, you can see all the notifications that are firing off from changes, change forms. Dictionary, we have export, so we can export a static view of this page in PDF or XML format. View, you can change the view of the form, so you'll probably have multiple views. And if a user is complaining that they can't see all the fields that they're supposed to, first thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to check the view that they're in. But these are the different views out of the box. Create favorite, you can create a favorite of this page, or you can just click on the star. And copy the URL of this page, straightforward. Copy the sysID, so the sysID is unique to each record. So in case you need the sysID of this record, you can copy that here. Show XML, so you could show the XML of that page if you want to. And history just gives you I showed it on incident, but we'll show it here too. Just kind of allows you to audit the form. So in case there's something that's not set up in activity, we'll get to that in a second too. So say changes to the reason were not added to activity, so you can't see who made those changes to the reason field. You could just come over to the history, and then you would see when that change was made and by who. So it's a great audit tool. And I think that's pretty much it. Then we have reload form, so in case you need to reload the form. And you can always right click and get those same options that you got from the additional actions. Next to that, you have your paperclip for attachments, activity stream. So that pushes you down here. Like I was just talking about the activity stream. You can see all the activity on that record. You can add or remove fields that you want to track in the activity stream right here with this button. Next to that, you have your personalized form, so the user can go in and they can remove certain fields. So maybe they don't want the service field there in service offering. They could just untoggle it here and it'll remove it from the form. Next to that, you have the ellipsis, which allows you to email this record. If you want to email it to someone, you can toggle the templates on or off. Oops, I think I had them on. Turn them back on. Or we had them off, and now they're back on. So at the bottom, we have our different templates for the change request form. And templates are helpful if you go in and say you're creating the same record every week. Rather than you having to fill it back in every single time, you could just click on your template. It may show up at the bottom, or you may have to click on this ellipsis and search for it. But when you click on your template, it would just fill in all the fields that you filled in for your template, so you're not having to repeat yourself over and over. Annotations are helpful because this is an annotation right here. So annotations they're usually there for to guide and help the user. So if you don't have them turned on, they're not going to be able to help and guide you. You can add tags if you want for that record. You can discuss, so you can create like a little mini party, and you can discuss different things about that record. I find it much easier just to reach out to people on Teams or call them, because you don't know how often they check ServiceNow. But if you guys don't have phone numbers or Teams, I guess it would make sense to do the sidebar discussions, I guess. Next to that, you have follow, so you could follow this record. Update. Now the difference between save and update, save will keep you on the record, whereas update will kick you back to the last page that you visited before this form. Or if you had opened up a new tab after you opened this form, it'll take you to the page you visited most recently. Delete, you can delete this record if you want to, but it may not be a good idea because there may be dependencies. These arrows just allow you to go up and down from the different records, different change records. This here is the different phases or stages for your change request. So depending on your workflow, it'll move through these different stages till you get all the way to closed. Or maybe it's canceled because they don't like you. And then if you scroll down, we have our number, which is incremental. So say this was the most recent change. Once I create my new change, we would have our 40008. Requested by, straightforward, who's requesting the change. Category, straightforward, what is the category of the change? These are the out of the box. You could always add in additional options if you want to. Service, the service that is being impacted by that change. Service offering, CI, if you have a relevant CI for the change record, you can add that here. Priority, you can set your priority and your risk for your change request. Short description, that is a high level overview of what the change is about. And the description, you can get a little bit more wordy. Model, so this is the change models. You can do emergency or normal. You can see this one is in the type emergency. But you could always switch it back to normal if you want to. State, so new or authorize. And conflict status, conflict run, assignment group. So this is the assignment group that this change should be going to. And then assign to is only going to show users within that assignment group. So it looks like on my PDI, we don't have any users in that group. So let's try software. Software has users. So we could select David Liu, or we can select ITIL user within software. And yeah, that's kind of how you select the different users within the assignment group. Then you have your different tabs here. You have your planning, so your justification for that change, your implementation plan. So how are you going to go about doing completing that change? And again, these aren't changes only on ServiceNow. These could be changes for anything. So at my current position, at my job, we have a change cab every week, and users have to present their changes to the group, and the group either says yay or nay. So it's very helpful to have these things filled out. So, in case you're not able to show up to that meeting, they have enough information to be able to approve on your behalf. And also, if you highlight these, it gives you more information. Little tool tips. And you have your risk and impact analysis. You have your backup plan, so how you're going to back out if things go wrong, and your testing plan. And calculate risk. So this is calculate risk and impact of this change based on defined risk conditions. show workflow so you can actually see what happened on this workflow. So this is the change request emergency. So you can see it began. From there, it split. So it went over to cancel workflow if models set. So if we were to change the model, it probably would have canceled the workflow. Right now, change moves to authorize. So right now it's waiting because we're still in new. And workflow context just gives you another view of that workflow. So this is kind of how it looks. You can kind of see what's been happening. Okay, let's do our next tab here, schedule. So this is the planned start date for your change, planned end date for your change. Cab, that's what I was just talking about, change cab. So change cab takes place on ServiceNow. However, like I mentioned, not all changes. Most likely, most of the changes in change cab are not going to be related to ServiceNow at all. So everything just kind of gets grouped into change cab. And that's where you would toggle this on. And then that would also tell you when the change date / time is. But ours is at the same time on the same day every week. You have some unauthorized, you have an unauthorized tab here. And then once the actual change request has started, then you'll be filling out your actual start date and your actual end date and all that good stuff. And your cab delegate. So in case you're not able to show up to cab to present on your behalf, to try to convince the group to approve for you, you can just set up a delegate. And again, there's tooltips for each one of these fields. Conflicts, so it shows if there's any conflicts. So configuration items / affected CIs, planned start date and planned end date are required. So yeah, you just be able to see if there's any conflicts there. Notes is where we were before we switched over to planning. So you can see your activity stream, leave internal work notes or leave notes that everybody can see. You can add the watch list. So in case other people want to track this change, they can be added to the watch list. You can add people to the work notes list. So in case they want to track the work notes. And also when you close it. So you can mark it as successful or maybe unsuccessful. You can list the reason why. Okay, scrolling down, we have our related lists. So these are all the impacted CIs for the change request. You can add those here. Impacted services. So you can see we added email over here, but you can always add in additional services if multiple are being impacted. Approvers, if there's going to be approvers for whatever your approval policies are, the approvers will be shown up here so they can approve or reject your change request. Change tasks. So in case you need, most likely you're going to have quite a few change tasks for your change requests. So, I mean, I've seen some where they have like 12 to 15 different change tasks for a change request. You know, it gets pretty lengthy because sometimes those changes take like a month and there's a lot of people involved. Problems, you can link problem records if you want to. Incidents fixed by change. So maybe you have some incidents that are linked to your change. Incidents caused by change. So maybe there are some issues that were caused by your change. Those would be listed here. SLAs, so those are service level agreements. So maybe if this is a high and it hasn't been closed out within like a day, then some SLAs, aka some notifications may be firing out to managers and people are going to get in trouble. So SLAs are kind of I don't know, we don't really use them at my employer, but I think they're kind of a necessary evil to keep people accountable. And then outages. And that about does it, guys. I think that covers everything. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider giving this video a like. Please also consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video very soon.